Where's Nigel?
Where's Nigel? Come here.
The bloke with the suit.
Well, first of all, this is an awesome responsibility. I know that there is a sense of excitement that we've seen, not only throughout Canberra, not throughout the National Party, but throughout the nation. It is, I must say, spectacular when you turn on the television and the nation is talking about the leadership of the National Party. I not for 1 minute believe that it is a discussion about individuals, myself or Fiona or Nigel or any of my colleagues. I believe that is a statement by country people and people in the towns, people in the weatherboard 9, people in the brick and tile, those on the farm, those on the coast, who are saying, well, these are the people that we have an expectation will represent us. It's their excitement. It's their excitement manifest in what is happening in this room because our responsibility goes out to them. This responsibility is not taken lightly. This responsibility is taken with all the respect that it deserves. I think that within the next few years, we will continue to build on the exceptional work that has been done by the most recent giant of our party, Warren Truss. It's out of respect for Warren Truss, it's out of respect for our colleagues in marginal seats, but most importantly and foremost, it's out of respect for the people of regional Australia that Fiona, Nigel and myself will go forward as a team, leading our colleagues in an effective coalition for the betterment of the Australian people in general. Fiona?
I'm very humbled that my party has chosen to give me the honour of being their deputy leader. It's an exciting time to be a regional Australian. We have in this party such a cross-section of people from right across rural and regional areas. We're real people who represent all of those out in rural and regional communities that need us to fight for them. We represent some of the most disadvantaged people across the country, and we will never stop fighting for them, making sure that we look after them and that they get their fair share. I'd like to pay tribute to Warren Truss, who has just been the most extraordinary leader of this party over many years. But we see a different team now with Nigel, so it is going to be a slightly different National Party, quite a different National Party, and we will be doing, though, the same things we've always done. Focusing on those people outside the major capital cities who need us to fight for them, who need to make sure we bridge the divide, who need to make sure that we build stronger rural and regional communities so that our children and our grandchildren want to stay in those communities or come back to those communities.
Nigel.
Thanks very much. Congratulations to both Barnaby and Fiona. I can see Warren just there in the background. He'll never really be in the background as far as this party's concerned. I'd like to acknowledge the fantastic work that he has done for regional and rural Australia. And he always gives us a bit of sensible advice. He said, politics is not about each of us. Politics is about the rest of the country outside of this place. And so with that, Warren, I'd like to apologise for taking perhaps a couple of days away for a bit of soul-searching. This has been a very important time for the National Party. We don't change leaders glibly or easily. It's a really tough and sincere decision for us because when we make these decisions are here for a very long time. So I hope you forgive us for a couple of days of introspection. We're now making sure that we focus on the interests of the rest of Australia. Thank you.
Senator Joyce.
Okay, far away.
Congratulations.
Get with the times, Phil.
Sorry, it's a long night. It's been a long day. Assuming you've given some thought to what you do if you got the leadership, are you planning to draft a new coalition agreement with Malcolm Turnbull? And if so, would it be any different to the one that was only done a couple of months ago between Mr Truss and Mr Turnbull?
Well, to be completely frank, myself, Fiona and Nigel, as soon as we leave here, we'll sit down and make sure that our aspirations are clearly outlined in the agreements that we have with the Liberal Party. We believe that a substantive document was drawn up last time. If we need to revisit that in any way, shape or form, we can make those decisions tonight. I don't want to go much beyond that. I don't think there'll be anything dramatic. It will be, we are not foolish. We know that we are not that far away from an election. Our focus is clearly laser-like on making sure that the Australian people get a clear juxtaposition between an effective coalition, which we are, and the unfortunate position that the Labor Party currently finds themselves in, which is basically, looking for a cliff to jump off.
Mr. Joyce, what portfolio would you like to serve in?
Big part. Well, we've obviously got interests in areas more, and we will discuss the portfolios that properly fulfil those. We obviously have strong interests in the things that fulfil the requirements of the people we serve in regional Australia. They're interested in roads, they're interested in transport, they're interested in the price of commodities, they're interested in their standard of living, they're interested in their economy. We will, as I see it, are entitled to a further cabinet position, and my discussions with Fiona and Nigel, also with strong input from Warren Truss, we'll work out what is best for those people we represent.
Do you want that additional cabinet position in the reshuffle that's due in the next few days, or is that a matter of longer-term aspiration?
No. I think that if the numbers require it, then those numbers should be honoured.
Would you like to change portfolio yourself?
Look, I'll be making that decision over the next 24 hours or so.
Mr. Joyce, when will you meet Mr. Turnbull to finalise the coalition agreement?
We've had a brief meeting with the Prime Minister tonight. I'm in constant communication with Mr. Turnbull, and I will be having another meeting, I hope, either late tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Fiona, you said there'll be differences with this team, the National Party team. What are those differences? And also, what's the significance of having a female in the leadership position?
I think that's probably one of the most obvious differences. I'm a girl. Look, it will be different. We obviously have a girl as part of the leadership team now, and I think with any changeover, you reflect on the great things we've done, that we've built in the past, and then we add some new ideas, I suppose, a new approach. Barnaby and I are different to Warren, but it's about building on what we've already done. And the Nationals are a family. We really are. We're an extraordinary party where we might be small, but we punch way above our weight. We have incredible support, and I really do want to thank my husband David and my boys Will and Henry, because I wouldn't be standing here as the first female deputy leader of the National Party if it hadn't been for them.
Boy, doesn't that put my pot on. I'd like to thank my wife and my daughters, Bridget, Julia, Caroline and Odette. Thanks. Got anything else from you?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's what I'm here for.
There's obviously been a lot of speculation leading up to tonight's events, and there was some obviously a lot of talk about challenges to you or other people who are prepared to take on the leadership. Can you move on quickly from this phase in the National Party's history and galvanise the party and tell us whether or not there'll be ongoing division?
Certainly. First thing, I'd like to once more recognise and commend the magnanimous decision by Michael McCormick. I think it's never a stronger statement of character than someone who puts themselves aside for the betterment of their party, and by so doing the betterment of the nation, and that will mark him amongst his colleagues and amongst all who view him into the future. I think that if I could room, every colleague that I heard who spoke talked about unity, and they talked about the purpose of the party having a united front. Now, I believe that that is driven by their desire and their clear understanding. We're all in politics, and we clearly understand that to have the greatest effect, you have to have the greatest purpose of your numbers, and to have 21 people working as one gives you far better bang for your buck than 5 different groups of 4.
Mr. Joyce, how will you pick your front bench? Obviously, Queensland loses a cabinet minister, and with the retirement of Mr. Truss, will you be picking the front bench on regional, regional requirements, or is it a matter of merit?
Well, I think in both those issues, you can acknowledge people from there's certain regions, and also taking into account their merit. No one is ever going to get to a position of leadership in our nation if they don't have the capabilities to do it, but those capabilities are widely spread across our nation. Now, tonight, myself, Fiona and Nigel, hopefully with the assistance of Warren Truss, will start having those discussions about how we see the team going forward. Now, within those discussions, we will do an assessment of the attributes of the colleagues and how we see it fit. I, from the very outset, can say that I am by nature, despite what people might think, a person who works in a collegiate form. I feel that I worked that way when I was in the Senate. I worked that way when I was in my business. I've worked that way within my department. I don't think anyone, without trying to seem egotistical, I don't think that anybody's made any complaints about our department being ineffective. We have an incredibly effective Department of Agriculture and it works very well. We had an incredibly effective Senate and it worked very well. I've been loyal both publicly and privately to Warren, and that relationship worked very well. And it's the same approach I will take in this great honour of being basically the first amongst equals of the National Party, my colleagues. And the way I understand what my colleagues want is to work in a collegiate form and take those soundings from Fiona Nash, from Nigel Scullion, from other senior members of the party, obviously from Warren Truss, who remains obviously the most senior Queenslander that we have in the party and the most experienced politician that we have in our room, and will remain that way till he leaves. I said to my colleagues whilst we were going through the pre-selection process that Warren will remain my friend, guide and philosopher, and I will be sounding him out for advice as to who should go where.
What are your priority issues where you wanted to make a difference to coalition policy from within?
Well, I think the National Party has done that all the way through. We can see our fingerprints on policies as recent as the last fortnight. Without disclosing anything, I can talk about discussions, but I wouldn't, within Cabinet, where the National Party has changed the course of a decision. Everywhere within the National Party, there are people having an effect in different ways. For Senator Wacker Williams, it's his work within the banking industry and how he has turned around so many of the plight of those who have been ostracised or diminished by large banks. For other people, it's in the work they do. For Kevin Hogan, the work that he's doing at the moment within cooperatives. For Andrew Broad, his proficiency and input in irrigation industries. For Michael McCormick, his continued strong understanding of issues such as the Murray-Darling Basin. For all these people, they affect it within the scope of the job they do. Within Cabinet, it is still influencing it, but just influencing it in a different way. Quite obviously, in Cabinet is within the room. For those in the backbench, it's more of the public campaign.
But you must have a priority list of policies in your mind.
Yes, we do. We have as a party, all the way back to Albury-Wodonga, clearly mapped out a critique for where our party goes, not just to here. We don't have to start discovering that policy agenda now, because we've, as a party, planned that from a long way back. And we'll continue to do it. So rather than go through every section of policy, we have that we have the overarching critique that it is about the representation of those in regional Australia, and to make sure that the standard of their living is advanced, to make sure a better return goes through the farm gate, to make sure the delivery of service, the basic services, comes at an affordable rate to those people, to make sure that their economic advancement is in line and with those of those in the urban areas. Now, with everything we do, we can see it through that focus, and then the policy then is a matter after that.
Are we going to see Senator Nash, you're now going to go into Cabinet. Is there, obviously with the new portfolio, if you haven't decided what you want, is there an area you're interested in?
Well, there'll be discussions I'll be having with the leader, and certainly between the two of us we will be determining how those ministerial portfolios will be distributed. I'm well prepared to take any portfolio that the leader might see fit that I'm appropriate for. It's about making sure that we have the best lineup, taking us forward for the Nationals to continue to represent the people strongly right across all our communities.
Mr Joyce, how strongly do you intend to take up land rights issues in regard to mining and farmers' land rights? Is that something you might take up more forcefully, or any shift in that area?
I think we've been quite... we always look for the proper balance. I think we've laid down a clear critique over a number of years, going right back to the Senate document that was written by the National Party, the terms of reference extended by the National Party, that clearly laid out the primacy of prime agricultural land, the primacy of water resources, but not doing what the Greens want, which is the absolute exclusion of mining or anything to do with that. We're not foolish. We know that we will be stone motherless broke if we close down the mining industry, and that is... there is no economic sense, and every regional town would tear us to pieces. In places such as central Queensland with Adani, it is absolutely vital that that mine goes ahead. Whilst at the same time you can go to other areas where there are the proper questions being asked about the challenge between primary agricultural land and mining. So this is not a binary argument. And so often people try to take it to some sort of yes or no, good or bad, black or white resolution. It is more complicated than that, but solvable nonetheless. So I haven't heard any person who could be determined to be reasonable say close down mining. Logic says in places such as central Queensland, in the Mackays, in the Alphas, in the Rockhamptons, we must drive for a strong mining economy because so many jobs are dependent on it. And we must also, in the same breath, in other areas, be mindful where in closer settlement on prime agricultural land that we protect their rights and we make sure that we understand the incredible value that that land has for our nation, not just for next year or the year after, but for 10,000 years into the future.
Thanks, everyone.